Morning, guys. As usual, guys, if you have not said you're present in the video post comments, make sure you go ahead and do that in the Google Classroom. The assignment for today is basically we're gonna create a calculator program. We've done this once in the lab right before our test, I believe. In this calculator program, we're gonna ask the user for two values, and then we're gonna either add, subtract, multiply, or divide based on the user's input. Alright, so go ahead, open Replit if you haven't already. Make sure you have a Word document ready for the flowchart. Alright, so for the sake of time, I'm just gonna do addition and subtraction. You guys don't have to do division or multiplication either. So the first thing we do is we begin by printing out a bunch of statements for the user to let them know what this program does. If you look at the program that ran on the right hand side, all that is within the double quotes are in fact printed exactly as they appear. This program calculates two numbers, skips a line, prints again, select the operation, skips a line, prints, enter 1 for addition, enter 2 for subtraction. Then we go ahead and ask the user to enter your choice. We have on line 7 a variable ready to collect the user's input, so that if they selected something, we have a variable to reference to find out what exactly they decided to do. So I went ahead, I had this program finished, so I'm just pasting on the lines. From lines 9 to 15, I put a check before we even ask for the first and second numbers. What we're doing on line 9 is we're making a comparison. Remember the decision flow shapes in the flow charts and our if-else structures? We type if when we're ready to make a comparison between a variable and some number or some range that we want the action to follow. The T. You could be more specific, Desmond, because if you said T, I'm not sure which T you're talking about. Either way, once you ask me, I'll answer it, but let me continue. So if the operation, basically the person that entered the operation, if their number that they entered is greater than 2, meaning 3 upwards, then we print out invalid option. And then this new word here, end, does exactly what it says. It ends the program right then and there. Nothing else runs after this. The point of having a check for the operation if it's greater than 2 is because we don't have a choice that's greater than 2. So rather than continue and ask them for two numbers, we simply just end the program by saying it's an invalid option, and the program will end. So to show this real quick, I'll enter a number that's larger than 2 and it will just say invalid option. It doesn't make sense to ask for the first number and the second number and then just say, well, that's an invalid option. We're not gonna do anything to it, right? It's just a waste of the user's time and it makes the program look like it wasn't written well. So the first if checks if operation is greater than 2. And then if you have another comparison that you need to make, you type in the else if. Else if checks for another comparison, and this time we're comparing operation if it's less than 1, meaning if the option entered was 0 or less. 0 or less is not programmed either, therefore it should say invalid option, and doesn't make sense to continue asking for the user's input to calculate anything, right? Because they already entered a wrong option. Doesn't make sense to continue with the program. Notice that the ifs encapsulates everything inside, and this is what runs. It does not print the invalid option from this section, because that is only if the operation was less than 1. So each if, else if, and else section is limited to only what is written inside that section only. Alright? So now we go ahead and print the instructions for the user to enter values. Enter value 1, enter value 2. These are the variables that we're going to use to add or subtract. This is going to be the assignment, but to do the flow chart. Alright, this is the code. You're going to use the code to help you do the flow chart. What I'm doing now is explaining to you guys how to write out the code, because I'm going to want you guys to write this out when we get back to class, when we get back to lab. Alright, so if I go ahead and run this now, and I put -5, notice it just says invalid option, and it does not ask me to enter these values. And that's the whole point. From lines 9 to 15 is somewhat of a check to make sure that the option is valid, and going forward makes no sense. Now if I do enter 1 now, and I press enter, now it asks me for the first value. I can enter the first value and enter the second value. The program doesn't do anything after the second value because nothing else is written here. So if you have any questions, again, go ahead and ask it in the chat. I'll answer it when I see it. But I just want you guys to know what's happening here from lines 9 to 15, but also the syntax, or how it's being written, how it's being executed. 1 and 2 does not fall within these ranges. 1 is not greater than 2, and 1 is not less than 1. Therefore, it's valid. 2 is not greater than 2, and 2 is not less than 1. Therefore, it's valid. We're covering all ranges that does not exist in these options here. Alright? Now, moving along, the last part of the code is another decision, but this time it's not to exclude the user from the rest of the program, but it's to include what needs to be done with the two values that we enter. We've stated that entering 1 to be stored in the variable operation is for addition. So following that logic, we need to make a comparison that if operation equals 1, then we should add the values. We use our combination of a print statement to include text that's going to be printed within double quotes, and also using the semicolon to allow us to perform a calculation to be printed as well. Then we print thank you for adding. So let's run it using option 1 as our operation. We're going to add 25 plus 12, and that gives us 37. Notice it says thank you for adding, and nothing that's in the else branch is being run, because once you enter one of these branches in the if else structure, it's only going to cover that branch, and after it's done, it comes out of the if else structure. If else structures you could think of as one single room, and based on the door you enter in, that's the door you're going to come out of. So if you enter into this room here that says operation is 1, then that's the room that you're going to be coming out of. You're going to go into that room, do what you need to do, and then you leave. You're not going to go into this next route and do this as well. Now if I go ahead and run operation is 2, and I enter 50, and I want to minus 12, it's going to give me 38. It says the difference, and it says thank you for subtracting, not adding this time. Now if you notice here, I didn't have to say else if operation equals 2. This will work, and this will work just fine, So I'm gonna do the same thing again. Alright, this works because we're making a comparison if operation is equals to 2. However, we didn't need it before because at this stage, at line 22, we have already confirmed that operation can't be anything other than 1 or 2, right? Therefore, we come into this if-else structure with an added margin for error. So when we check if operation is equals to 1, we definitely add. And in this case, we use the word else, meaning as long as it's not 1, then just do the difference. Because we already confirmed that the numbers can only be 1 and 2 at this point, we already checked for 1, then the only logical answer that can be not 1 would be 2 at this stage. If you go ahead and put else if operation equals 2, that's fine. That's 100% correct. Just that in our case now, it's just not necessary. It's just not needed. It's pretty much just extra typing for you guys. Right? Could you please ask if you don't mean by that one? You could have also done it by checking for 2, but then you'd have to swap the info between these two branches, because if you're gonna be doing operation 2, then that's minus, and then the next only option that remains would be addition, which would be operation is 1 at that point. Right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So this is the code for you guys here. If you want to go ahead and type it into Replit, make sure the address for Replit is correct. repl.it/languages/qbasic. This is the first part of the homework. Remember, all homeworks will be pasting the code here and then doing the flowchart for me, right? So this would be part 1. And then that's me just explaining how the code works. What I want you guys to do now is to do the flowchart for this. Since this takes up a fair amount of space, I'm gonna ask you guys not to copy it into the Word file. You could just do the flowchart for me, alright? Just send me the flowchart. And I'm gonna begin doing the flowchart for you guys because there's a little hack that I want you guys to do. A little shortcut. You notice from lines 1 to 5, that's just basically telling the user what to do. So for that, I just want you guys to insert shape. I hate doing this. So we insert our starts. Doesn't need to be that big. Let me adjust the size so I can read your comments. Yeah, I'll email this to you, Andrew, but I think I'll need your email address, or I think I could get it from the classroom. So the next shape we're gonna enter is for lines 1 to 5, which is the rhombus. So we're gonna do a little shortcut here. Instead of typing 5 shapes and putting a lot of shapes here, we're just gonna kind of shortcut it. Just put print, and then we're gonna put program all the way to what's the last word it says. Enter your choice. So we're gonna just put that just to shortcut it. Again, we don't really wanna make this flowchart look too big. It's already gonna be big as it is, especially with all the if and else. So what I'm gonna do for you guys, I'm gonna do the flowchart all the way up to line 15. And then for your assignment, it's just to finish up from 17 to 28, alright? So let me continue. Again, remember what I showed you guys. Right click on the shape and then drag to copy shapes. Then just replace the text inside. No need to always go into the menu to insert the shape. So this time we're going to input operation. and then after operation we go straight into the else if. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my diamond. I'm gonna make it a little bit wider because I'm gonna say operations, is it less than or greater? I think it's greater than 2. I'm gonna widen it a little bit more. Alright, is operations greater than 2? You guys have to make sure that you design the false and the true section. So what we're gonna do here is add an arrow here, and we're gonna put up here, double click on top of the arrow, and we're gonna say true. If the operation is greater than 2, then we're gonna go ahead and say, just like what the program does, we print out invalid option. Notice I'm not kind of putting the quotes, I'm just trying to quickly show you guys what you need to do. Assignment isn't due today. If you can't get it done today, just make sure you go and submit it when you can. I'm gonna check all the assignments before Easter break, so just try and get it done before Easter starts. I'm sure you guys don't want to do any assignments during Easter, so I'm gonna give you guys till beginning of Easter break, then I'm gonna check everything, right? And then we end the flow chart here, because we say if the operation is greater than 2, then it's an invalid option, therefore we end the program there. So I haven't put in all the arrows yet, but just imagine arrows going from left to right, top down. So we'll end up with saying this is where the program would end. However, I'm gonna copy this arrow here, I'm gonna swap it the other way around. If the operation is false, that means it's not greater than 2, that means it's actually valid, or we're not sure it's valid yet because we have to do one more comparison. Because after we check that the operation is not greater than 2, then we check another decision here, is operation less than 1? So we check is operation less than 1 here, because right after we check if it's greater than 2, if it's not greater than 2, then we check is it less than 1. And same thing again, make sure you have your lines. I'm just gonna do it like this, just so I could fit everything here. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this arrow here, and this is gonna be where I put true. If it's true, basically same thing, we print the invalid option. Not doing a good job of managing my space, but I hope you guys get the idea. If operation is less than 1, then obviously it's too small of an operation. Then we do the same thing here, is we end the program. As well. So this signifies this line of code here. If operation is greater than 2 and it's true, meaning it actually fills in that requirement, then we print invalid option and we end the flowchart here. Else, it's not that operation is greater than 2. Well, what is it then? Is it less than 1? And we do that and check. True, yes, it's less than 1, then it's an invalid option. It's not, it should not be allowed to continue. So from here now, we have to program, or we have to display when it's false. So is it less than 1? No. Then we go ahead and finish up the rest of the program here that says, well, if it's not less than 1, it's not greater than 2. We've had arrows to signify that, okay, it's false. All checks are good. We're good to go. So we go ahead and just copy one of these, because the first thing is a print input. So you're pretty much For this one, I guess you guys could also do the little shortcut that we did before. Put enter values and copy this one, and we're just gonna shortcut it by value 1 and value 2. Alright, this can only be done with the flow chart. Alright, this is, and again we're shortcutting this just so you guys don't have to make a really huge diagram, right? So as per request for CamCam 1986, I'll just go ahead and finish it for you guys. Alright, so this is how it should look from the beginning. Remember that this output here covers all 5 of the first lines. That's our shortcut there. This one and this one is also a shortcut to cover these 2 lines from 17 to 20. So then if that's done, then the last part is to do this if-else statements here. So obviously again you're gonna have to copy one of these diamonds because you hit another if operation. Let's put it to the side here. I'm gonna copy an arrow, repurpose it. Remember, to copy is to right click on a shape at the outline of the shape and then dragging the mouse wherever you want to copy it to and select copy here. So is operations equals to 1? Let's go and remove the text from where we copied the diamond from. And it's not 2, it's 1. And if it is, then you go right into the print. So remember guys to separate arrows by true and false. So this would be true. And again, if you don't have Microsoft Word, do this on a sheet of paper. If operation is equals to true, then we print out. I'm just going to shortcut it once again. With sum ... just to represent what this line is doing. And then we go ahead and print out the last message that says thank you. Go ahead and copy this arrow here, and then finally you copy the end because this is where it ends for this block. However, make sure you always do the false as well. If operation is not equals to 1, then definitely gonna be printing out the difference. Pretty much the same. And again, my flowchart looks really messy because I kind of have to be juggling with the size of the window because I want to maintain showing you guys the code at the same time. But for you guys, I'm sure you could fix it up, make it look a bit neater than this, right? So false print, in this case it's gonna be difference, right? Still printing thank you because we print thank you on both sections, right? Just that in this thank you it's subtraction, and in this thank you it's addition, because true that operation is 1, we do addition. So pretty much same thing, copy your arrows. No need to go back into the menu to go and add those shapes. So overview, shortcut your intro to telling the user what needs to be done. We put input because that's a different from print, so we do put the input. We check is operations greater than 2. If it is true, then that's an invalid option. We haven't told the user that operations greater than 2, meaning, for example, 3 and above, we told them it's either 1 or 2. We didn't say anything about 3, so we tell them invalid on n. If it's not greater than 2, then we check, well, is it less than 1? And if that's true, then again, same thing. We didn't give them any options that it's less than 1. If it's not less than 1, well, then our checks have been completed. That means they have entered a valid option. We go ahead and print, please enter value 1, please enter value 2. We put the input for that. Again, these two are shortcuts. That's not how it appears in the code, but just for the sake of time and space, we're going to shortcut it. And then we finally do the final check. Is operations equals to 1? If it's true, we said that 1 is addition, so we print the sum. We print thank you, and that's when the program ends. And if it's not 1, then the only possible value that it can be at this point is 2. So we just automatically say that, alright, well, we're going to do the difference for you, and the difference is, and then we print out the difference, then we say thank you, and then we end the program. Alright, so this was pretty much your assignment. You were supposed to do everything after this part here where it says enter values, but since you guys asked, you guys should thank Cam for asking. Alright, so this is pretty much what you guys need to do. Make sure you save your files and upload it using the post that I made in the Google Classroom. Make sure to submit and make sure to attach those files. Alright, so today's assignment day 3. Again, this work is not supposed to overwhelm you guys, you know. We're just supposed to use this time to learn. I hope you guys were listening, hope you guys were following along when it came to the program. Right, all 10 of you. So that's pretty much it for this lesson. That's your assignment. Make sure you go ahead and post the assignment through the Google form. If you don't have Word, go ahead and write this out on a folder sheet and submit that. Alright, if there's no more questions, then I'll leave you guys here. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Stay safe. If you're gonna go out, make sure you wash your hands, sanitize. Alright. Just showing you guys the full flowchart once more. Then pause this. Remember, it's a video, you can pause it. And this is the end of it here. Please put in the arrows for me that I missed. Please organize it to look better. I'm kind of rushing, so that's why it looks so bad. It's still correct in terms of flow, but it looks bad, right? Just align the shapes out for me, guys. Alright. Once again, enjoy your weekend, guys. I'll see you next week on Tuesday.